Hey, everybody, welcome to the very first episode of the Enterprise Multi VM Lab. Now, throughout this series, we're going to build a realistic enterprise environment completely from scratch. By the end, you'll have multiple servers, a dedicated operations workstation, a monitoring platform, and an environment where you can practice troubleshooting just like you would in a real operations center. Every enterprise starts with a solid foundation. So, in this first episode, let's install VirtualBox and build our very first server. Okay, guys, before we get started, I just want to show you our architecture real quick. So at the center of our environment, we have our application one server, which is our production application server. Then we're also going to build our workstation server one, which is going to be our operations workstation, where we will investigate issues and manage our environment. And finally, we're going to build our monitoring server one, which is going to be our monitoring server, which will alert us when something goes wrong. As the series progresses, we'll intentionally break parts of the environment and learn how to troubleshoot them just like we would on a real operations team. Okay, guys, so the first piece of software we're going to need is VirtualBox. So VirtualBox is going to allow us to run multiple computers inside of a single physical computer. And instead of buying multiple desktops or servers, we can just create virtual machines that behave just like real systems. So throughout this series, every server we're going to build is going to run inside VirtualBox, making it easy just to recreate this environment on any computer. So the best part is that it's completely free. So let's just go ahead and download it. So we're going to go up here, VirtualBox, and then we'll go to the download page here. And then here from the downloads page, you'll see the installers for several different operating systems. So since I'm using Windows, I'll download the Windows host version. If you're following along on the Mac OS or Linux, simply just choose an installer for your operating system. So here up top, you can see it start downloading. And while that's downloading, I'll just go ahead and mention we're going to go ahead and grab the operating system that we're going to use to build our first server. So in the next step, we'll download the Ubuntu server and prepare everything we need for application one VM. Okay, guys, so like I said, we'll be using the Ubuntu server. So the reason we're using it is because it's free, it's widely used in enterprise environments, and it's a great operating system for learning Linux and server administration. And so throughout this series, Ubuntu will power our application one server and several other servers that we build. So let's go ahead and download it. Go up here. And all these links will be in the description. So we're gonna go here to download. We're just gonna give it a second here. It should start. Okay, you all see right here it started. So while we're waiting for that to download, once that's finished, we'll go ahead and continue with the installation of VirtualBox, and then we'll create our first server in application one. Now that VirtualBox has finished downloading from earlier, we're going to go through the installation, which is pretty straightforward. And for this project, the default settings are going to work perfectly fine. So what you're going to do is go to the folder wherever you downloaded VirtualBox. I have it here in this software folder right here. So it's going to ask, do you want to allow this app to make any changes to your device? I'm going to say yes. And it's going to open up the installation. And so we're going to go next. We're going to accept the terms. Next. Next. We're going to hit yes here. Yes. And we're going to hit next. And then install. So now that this is installing, we're now going to be ready to create our first server in our enterprise. So we can go ahead and start with creating application one server. So we'll come back once it's finished installing, and we'll go ahead and get started with that. Okay, y'all, so once you finish the installation for VirtualBox, it should have brought up this VirtualBox Manager. And so this is where we're going to create application one server. And as the series goes on, we're going to keep a consistent naming convention just to make it easier to manage and more closely resemble what you would see in a real enterprise. So let's go ahead and get started with application server one. So we're going to go to new, VM name, we're going to put application one. I'm going to leave that there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the ISO that I want to use, And so it's right here. It's in the folder where we downloaded it. So I'm just going to select that. I'm going to uncheck this. Go here. We're going to leave that as it is. Here, I'm going to make this, turn this to 4. So I'm going to do 496. And CPU, we're going to leave it at 2. Okay. And so for this, we want to allocate enough resources for our virtual machine. For this project, the settings provide plenty of performance while still leaving enough resources for your host computer. If your system has less memory or fewer CPU cores, then just you don't have to worry about that. You can always adjust that in the settings later. So we're going to check this as well. So then we're going to go to specify the virtual hard disk, and I'm going to change this to 40. Okay. And so that's it. I'm going to go ahead and finish that. And here it is right here. And so, and just like that, we got our first application server completed. And so in the next step, we're going to configure the network so our server can communicate with the rest of our environment before powering it on for the very first time. Before we power on application server 1, I actually want to check the network adapter. And so what we're going to do, we already have this selected. We're going to go to settings. And the reason I'm doing this is because this will allow our virtual machines to communicate with each other later in the series while still giving application 1 access to the internet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to network. And all we're going to do is make sure that this is enabled right here, which it is, and that's attached to the net. So it may already have that as a default. If it does, great. If not, just change it and make sure that it says this right here. Let's hit OK. And we'll just keep it simple for now. As our enterprise grows, we'll revisit these settings and build more advanced network. But this is all we need for now. So now that everything is ready, let's go ahead and power this on. So we're just going to hit start. And this should go ahead and get the server powered on. So let's just give it a second while it's powering up. Okay, guys, so here it is. It just powered on. So our first server is officially live. In the next episode, we're going to install the Ubuntu server and configure application server 1. And then we're going to take the next step towards building our enterprise. So thank y'all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.